Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Championship Check-In podcast from myself, Benjamin Bloom, and the great Sam Parkin. Sam, that felt like a big weekend. I'm going straight in there now. We'll go individually on each of these three teams in the title race. Sheffield United 3, Coventry 1. Jolly impressive. Leeds 2, Swansea 2. Bit problematic. Burnley 1, Bristol City 0. Same old Burnley. Are Sheffield United now our EFL Championship title favourites? Good morning.
I could show you some evidence to prove that I've been Sheffield United all the way, mate, since last summer. Yeah, they were my fancy. I think very much, probably third in the reckoning at the start of the season.
Sixth.
Yeah, because, you know, there was a lot of uncertainty about the type of squad that was going to be attacking the season, a lot of uncertainty, upheaval, boardroom level, what have you. Obviously, the points deficit that they kicked off the season with. So, yeah, it's been a brilliant season to this point. Obviously, they'd be 4 clear without that deduction. And this was, you know, arguably one of the most eye-catching performances of the season. And their recent woes, if I can call them that, it's not woes, but their troubles have been at Bramall Lane, really. You know, after that scintillating early season form and winning run at Bramall Lane, it's actually the away form that's been particularly eye-catching over the last 10, maybe a dozen games where they're pretty faultless. I think it's 7 wins.
40 points away from home, Sam.
Yeah, I think it's 7 wins in 8 or something on the road. So, yeah, incredible fettle. I think it's helped having kind of a little bit more continuity in the forward positions. I think that was, you know, always a little bit problematic for Chris Wilder in the early part of the season. So to having Brewster performing 2-2 now, to having Campbell in this rich vein of form, Harmer is the one, obviously a bit free-spirited, that plays off the left and has a bit more flexibility. But, you know, give or take
it's good signing, Sam, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think he's maybe been as instrumental as the other chaps I just mentioned, but yeah, he played a huge part in the third goal. 3 brilliant goals as well.
Defensively as well, in front of
win the game.
Young Sariki as well. Diaz, I thought was really good.
Yeah. So brilliant win, bit of a statement win. Players in form. Love the midfield too. I think Hamza Chowdhury is someone who, you know, I've never really probably spent much time talking about, but when you watch him in the flesh, he's a much better player than you.
I have to talk about him a lot, Sam, because whenever we do a watch along and Hamza Chowdhury plays, we're flooded with Bangladeshi football fans wanting to talk just about Hamza Chowdhury.
Yeah, I remember him playing kind of that inverted fullback role last year at Leicester, and I questioned him a few times whether he was going to be suitable in that role, whether he was going to get done 1v1, and he was so composed and so comfortable. So seeing him in the absence of Sousa, alongside Peck, which has been such a strong position, strong combination for Sheffield United this year. Sousa wasn't missed. So that's a huge credit to Chowdhury, who obviously Chris Wilder wasn't too sure about his whereabouts, I think, in the lead up to this game, given that he was somewhere across the world. So, yeah, bit of a statement victory. And, they're in there now, aren't they? They're in there now. I mean, this morning, who would you say were their most obvious competitors? Maybe Burnley, as we sit here this morning.
Well, let's get into that, Sam, when you throw that grenade in. And look, this changes real quickly, doesn't it? Because we were sat here, understandably, along with the rest of the British football watching public, after the back-to-back wins by Leeds against Sheffield United and Sunderland, and the manner of the wins and the late goals, thinking, right, they're done. You know, just see this over the line. And they've faltered a little bit. It's not to say that other teams won't falter. I think the thing I'm looking at, Sam, is just the kind of winning mentality of Sheffield United, and we're broken record, you know, the 15 wins by a single goal in the EFL this season, 26 wins as well. They're just seeing matches out. And we're going to have to talk about the keeper, and we don't like digging individual players out, but we have to talk about it. Do you subscribe to the theory that Leeds are the best team in the league if you look at all the underlying metrics with a keeper who's had a really bad season?
Yeah, probably. And if they had Michael Cooper or James Trafford they'd probably be there now, wouldn't they? Or almost there. So it's hugely problematic for them. He's been incredibly loyal, the manager. Does it put an enormous amount of pressure on Darlow if he's to be thrown in now? I'm not so sure it does. I think he's got a hell of a lot to gain, hasn't he, coming in, and he'll be confident, I'm sure, that he can do better than the current incumbent of that shirt and that position. So it's fascinating ahead of this week. I think there's no doubt that, just going away from the goalkeeper for a moment, there will be quite a few changes.
Sam, look who they're playing, mate. Luton away. If there's any team that are really well set to unsettle an unconfident goalkeeper, it's Luton at home, isn't it?
Yeah, really good point. Yeah, ball swinging in under the crossbar. I don't envisage it happening, but I think there's a strong argument to say that it should. I think Nonto probably comes back in. Tanaka probably comes back in. I think Firpo as well. Yeah. Obviously, the international break disrupts things. So I think there's probably been a sense that Daniel Farke has to use his squad a little bit more. And obviously, it's not gone particularly well at the weekend, but I expect all those aforementioned players to come back in. Listen, let's get it right. Swansea, they hit the post. They had a few moments, but it was a game that Leeds controlled hugely. I would compliment Swansea for getting after Leeds a little bit more than most teams at Elland Road. And I do probably buy into the
penalty as well, Sam.
Yeah, penalty as well. Tyman's delivery was problematic, obviously, for Leeds. I buy into the fact that, conceding early probably helped Swansea in a way.
What do you mean?
That the game plan alters. And I think they actually showed a little bit more bravery without the ball, getting after Leeds, pressing them a little bit higher, closing down, because, essentially the game plan's a little bit out the window. So I think they are a team that do close from the front, Swansea. They don't really sit in. And I think that was probably a little bit key to them getting something in this game, and maybe something that other teams could take a little bit of note from, just getting after Leeds a little bit when they're a little bit less stable than they have been. I don't know how many of these Leeds players were there during their kind of stumbles towards the end of last season. It's a strong majority, and you have to fuss at it in now that we're getting down to the crunch. There's a little bit of a mentality issue there, inevitably, and that's what the supporters are naturally going to be worried about. I played in this game, Luton against Leeds, one of my favourite memories, in a midst of a relegation battle for Luton, and I came on after probably fearing that I was never going to play football again in the 6 months, a year prior, and I scored an equaliser for Luton in this fixture, and it was one of the most emotive feelings I ever had in the game. I think just given the nature of both the two clubs, sets of supporters, the Luton fans will be bang up for this.
It's going to be fierce.
Bang up for it. Yeah, there's a little bit there. I don't know why, historically, I don't know why, but I remember that game. Amazing atmosphere, and the Luton fans. I don't know if Leeds were going for promotion that year, but the Luton fans certainly enjoyed taking a point off them.
So, if I'm a Burnley fan, am I reasonable to map this out now and say, well, hang on a minute. If it were to stay like this up to round 44, which we've mentioned 10 billion times already, and you back Burnley to beat Sheffield United in round 44, could this be the mother of all bait and switches, last minute overtakes? Because it kind of could be in Burnley's hands at that point. Obviously, they've got to get past Leeds and there's a goal difference deficit with everyone. But if you do get to round 44, and Burnley are bloody 26 games undefeated, they never concede any goals, they could make the overtake at the last minute with no games left. Well, two games left against QPR and Millwall, Sam. You understand Burnley fans mapping that out?
Yeah, of course. My head's too fuzzy, really, like with all the games and the permutations. So I just want to look at it in the short term.
They're away to Coventry, mate, at the weekend.
away to Coventry, but they've lost so few games this season. I mean, what they've lost at Sunderland, at Millwall, is that it? I think possibly. So
they've only got 2 defeats. Yes, that must just be those 2, mustn't it?
So, I mean, it's the hardest game, on paper that the 3 face this weekend. But it comes off the back of arguably certainly one of their best halves of the season, maybe against Bristol City. I mean, they wrapped up probably 5 or 6 good opportunities, not half chances, good opportunities.
And that's been your criticism of them, Sam, a bit, hasn't it? They haven't been doing that.
Yeah, I think. I think it's more of a concern if you're not getting the chances, obviously. And I think another day they would have, as they did against Luton, albeit against 10 men, they got 4 relatively recently. So I wouldn't be overly concerned at the chances going begging, but just them looking a more enterprising, exciting, attacking unit at this stage of the season when points are so crucial has got to be a positive. And I think they have improved with Edwards for one. They just look a little bit more creative, which is a real positive ahead of the running. And 11 goals conceded. We've run out of superlatives.
We don't even talk about that anymore, do we?
No, we don't even talk about it, which is
take it for granted.
Like, it's insane. It's insane how they've conceded 5 goals at Turf Moor, which is just
brilliant,
astonishing. So they're not going anywhere. They've obviously had too many draws. 15, is it? I mean, that sounds a hell of a lot coming out of my... And a hell of a lot of nil-nil.
Second only to West Brom with 18, Sam.
Yeah, so if they can continue in the same vein they are in the attacking sense, then, they've got an unbelievable opportunity. And it's going to be fascinating. I'm dying for it to go to the last day. I would absolutely love that. I can't remember it happening in recent times. I mean, imagine we've got 3 teams that can get automatic promotion on the final day. That would be probably surpassing anything that's been done in the Championship previously.
Yeah, Leeds go to Plymouth round 46. Sheffield United home to Blackburn. Burnley home to Millwall. God, you could almost see them all winning on the final day. So, absolutely brilliant. Sam, let's just wrap this up. So, it's always difficult to tell with the bookies where Leeds are concerned because Leeds are such a big club and a big fan base that the odds always get pushed a little bit in one direction. But they do still have Leeds as fact. By the way, they're all odds on to get promoted. So whoever's missing out is hot favourites for the playoffs, understandably. I probably would say, sitting here right now, that after that last week, I'm swinging towards Sheffield United. I've been thinking Leeds would win it all season, and I didn't think a kind of slip this pronounced would come. I thought, to your point, Sam, they would have learned from the trauma and the stability. They've got extra stability than the other two sides. But, the bookies have Leeds still favourites, then Sheffield United, and then Burnley. You got anything to say about that before we round out?
I'm just going to remain quite pig-headed because I fancied Sheffield United from the outset. I'm going to go for them. So it's kind of heart over head. And I'd stick with Leeds for now. And I'd stick with the narrative, which I wheeled out last week a couple of times, which I like building a little storybook of Leeds maybe. And I don't know how it's going to happen now, but I'm just going to go for maybe Leeds to just tail off at the last knockings of the season and Sheffield United to pick them to the title. That's the way I'm going to stick. You've
probably got Sheffield United beating Burnley in 44 then, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I don't...
Or at least not losing.
I don't have a clue how that game's going to play out because I would love to sit here now and say that it's
nil.
2 teams to open up. But, whether that's possible with the way that Burnley defend, I doubt very much. So you're probably looking at a game with 2 goals max and, probably Burnley being good for a share of the spoils at least.
There you go. Please, everybody, get involved in the comments. The narrative is swinging and shaking and moving all around as we go. I've got to say, as a neutral, and look, I was an Ipswich fan involved in this last year, so it was absolutely terrifying. As a neutral, this is bloody riveting, and I'll wholeheartedly endorse Sam's point of please be this points differential going into rounds 45 and 46, because that would be...
I know you can look at every fixture and say pivotal, huge, blah 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 blah. But Leeds at Luton and then Middlesbrough. Yeah. I mean, that is just not two games. I don't think, because Middlesbrough, a clever side, good players, and Luton in their predicament, having picked up, which we'll come on to in a minute. Two tough games. So. Yeah, that's probably going to determine, isn't it, the mood and the confidence of the Leeds players and the rhythm of the team for the run-in.
Brilliant. It's riveting. Get involved with your thoughts in the comments, and we're lucky. Could go any which way this. I wouldn't be surprised at any permutation of those three teams as the top two. Now, we're not going to talk about the playoffs. I'm going to cover Middlesbrough on Friday night in the watch along. So we'll have a real good look at the kind of playoff race in that specific game. We do want to look at the relegation fight, Sam. And I've got to say, well done, Luton, because I had Hull winning this game and Hull essentially ticking off Luton this past week, because I think it would have been like 9 points or something, and they wouldn't have been able to catch them. So we're going to max out on Luton. But first of all, Sam, and we got ourselves in hot water doing this last year, because I ticked Plymouth off when they reached 45 points, and then they didn't win for a good few weeks after that, and they were still in on the final day. But if I'm a Portsmouth fan and I'm at 45 points and there's 6 games there, am I kind of going, cool, okay, we're there. One more win for 48 and we're over the line. Well, is it big well done, Pompey?
Well, I thought it was a massive game. When they lost at home to Argyle a few weeks ago, I thought, oh, what a waste. With respect, that's an opportunity to give you that breathing space against the worst team currently in the division, and they faltered. So I think there would have been enormous relief. Not one for the purists, that's for sure, but they got over the line. And Murphy, after
nice goal around the corner from Bishop as well, Sam.
Yeah, and what a signing he's proved to be. I don't think there was any doubt, really, given how good he was for Oxford back in the last season. But took a little bit of time, but he's been stellar for Pompey. I don't think anyone sitting on 45 points right now is comfortable. I mean, QPR, who we'll come on to probably because they were involved in another big game at the weekend. They're in a position now with a hellish injury situation going on where they won't be, 100%.
Oh, come on, Sam. I'm not having this. QPR, Swansea and Pompey are all safe. Surely.
Oh, are they, yeah?
Surely. Come on, mate.
Yeah.
Surely.
Yeah, okay.
One win in 7 games for all 3 of them. Surely, Sam.
I'm no mathematician, that's for sure. And I'm always wanting to side with caution because stranger things have happened. But they put themselves in an amazing position, Pompey. Vital win, and we'll save the Blackburn chat for another day because that is horrendous, isn't it?
Dreadful, aren't they? One thing I was actually right about, Sam, is that I thought Stoke would front load their point scoring, because I think the last 4 games they play Leeds and Sheffield United, and then they want it all done before they go to Derby on the last day of the season. You mentioned QPR, but really, really good win for Stoke, and they're starting to leverage Bet365 now as difficult place to go. I think they're going to have. I reckon they would get 6 or 7 points out of the first 4 games back, and they'd be all right. And they've got a good start.
Yeah, and it should be a difficult place for players to go. If the fans turn up and are up for it, it's one of the best atmospheres I experience, believe it or not. And I think that probably gets lost sometimes because of the issues, and probably because they've not filled it at times. But when it gets going, tough. And brilliant win, but a good time to play QPR with Chair missing, Field, Cook, Frey. Couldn't believe the lineup when I saw it. So QPR being hindered all at the same time, but a big win. And now Hamady is not available currently as well. I thought he would probably be the route to salvation. Manhoff, Bright, Gallagher leading the line. So really, really good win for them. Nothing's changed in my mind. I think they've improved under Mark Robins, no question. And I think that they'll be fine. And I think they'll probably get 1-2 more victories of that ilk, which will keep them in the division.
We agree on that, mate. We'll skirt past Oxford, who were in the lead at Borough, and 42 is a nice total to be going in at, but no total's nice if you're going to only stick, say, 1 or 2 points on the board for the rest of the season. Let's talk about Hull versus Luton then, because I know you used to play for Luton, but essentially we're neutrals on this. As a neutral, this is the kind of chaos because it squeezes it up, adds upward pressure. Luton win in with I don't know if we need to talk about the weird own goal. You take it and you take your luck as it comes, and you see the game out. And were you a bit surprised by this one, Sam? I definitely had Hull winning this one.
Yeah, I was probably surprised that they took maximum points. I fancied a draw in this one, which wouldn't have been particularly helpful for anyone. No. I'll tell you a quick story. When the Alfie Jones own goal went in, it got translated to us down the line by the producer when I was at Watford v Argyle that this comedy own goal had gone in. So quick as a flash, I said, "Cool, it sounds like that Chris Brass one for Bury against Darlington." And the commentator, Alex Crick, looked at me with bemusement because he had no idea what I was on about.
The same face here. Anyone in the chat, Chris Brass, hey?
Yeah, well, I didn't actually get Bury. I knew it was against Darlington, and he actually overhead kicked it in his own face. So he's facing the goal, tries to hook it, hits his face. I think he may have broken his nose in the act. And I got confirmation from the producer.
Jones is an innocent bystander in this one. He just gets it booted in his face, doesn't he?
Yeah, and we had Faye Carruthers in the studio, who obviously Faye's a big Luton fan as well. So she was not only working on a Watford game, but she was obviously keeping across the Luton result as well. Yeah, it was a poor game, wasn't it? I thought that Luton's shape looked good. I thought the two were full of endeavour. The front two, that is, Morris and Adebayo, for lack of reward, obviously, other than the carnage that they caused, maybe with their presence for the only goal of the game. I think, I've said many a time, Hull seem to be in every game. They're
agreed.
They're quite solid. They're not shipping too many goals. It's going the other way. That my concern is with them. I think Pedro helps when he's going to be back available. They need him back. But the form's been good. And I don't think we can get away from that the form's been good. There's been, quite a few of the new acquisitions that have proven to be decent signings. So I wouldn't be alarmed by this. But I think the story is probably Luton winning the game. That was, I think, must win. I think it was must win for them. 3 wins in 5 now. Like I just said about Hull, defensively looking good. Obviously, so the supporters' concern is about the attacking output, which is an obvious one, but they're only going to need the odd goal in the odd game, probably to reach the points target, which I'm sure Matt Bloomfield has set. Some of those players, maybe I questioned, younger players being signed or inexperienced players showing some quality. Makosi, Ali as well, I think on Saturday. So, yeah, these players, albeit they're probably for the future and for next season, they're actually contributing now in a really sticky situation. So a massive win, and all eyes on that game against Leeds now. Need to back it up.
To your point about the top of the table, Plymouth may be a bit loose, but we could go into final day with 2 possible relegation spots open as well. Just really quickly on Cardiff, Sam, that felt like an opportunity missed against Sheffield Wednesday, because all the underlying numbers say they had chances to win the game. They had the lead. It's another home game ticked off. So you're now uneven. You got 4 away games and 3 home games remaining. You said you were concerned for Cardiff, I assume, with them hovering 1 place above. And at time of recording, Derby could overtake them tomorrow night with a win against Preston, Sam.
Yeah, well, if you'd have asked me last week, or if I indeed wasn't put on the spot, I would have said Argyle, Luton and Cardiff would have been my 3 to go. And yeah, I was surprised by the nature of that first half performance, because it sounded and looked like they were far and away the better side. Goal to the good. A brave lineup, I think, from Omar Ritza. Really youthful team all of a sudden. The 3 supporting players behind the centre forward. 19, 20 and 23. So maybe he's just thought that lack of fear, maybe that youthful exuberance might be enough in a game at home against a team that's not challenging to get the maximum points. But Sheffield Wednesday, as they so often have been away from Hillsborough, resilient, get themselves a point. Second half, looked like Salak had a couple of chances. I think it was Salak, but, no real presentable opportunities to win the game. So, yeah, Cardiff, 5 wins in 26 now for them, albeit QPR next up and then Preston. They're 2 games I would probably cherry pick, albeit they're on the road. And if you remember when QPR were toiling, the kickstart to their season was a win in Cardiff. So they've got one over there. The Bluebirds already this year, I probably can't see QPR winning that game. I maybe fancy Cardiff to get something there. So the games are not bad for them, but yeah, they're bang in trouble. And just to finish, obviously I sat through, I've tried to erase it from my memory, Watford, Argyle.
Professionalism is, and that is...
Yeah, and I think my closing line, and this won't amaze anyone, but it was, Argyle aren't good enough for the Championship, I don't believe, and Watford aren't good enough for the playoffs. And in summary, that's kind of how it looked. And I was just thinking, with about 10 minutes to go, when Argyle, it was kind of one team having a little spell. Watford had the best chances early part of the second half to win the game, and should have done so. But Hardy had 1 or 2, certainly had a good chance in the first half. But there was just a little spell, maybe 10 minutes to go, when the Argyle supporters sensed that this could be their moment. Bit of noise. And I still thought, even if they win this 1-0, it doesn't feel or look to me like this is a team that are battling relegation, that are going to all of a sudden find the momentum required. It would have just been a 1-0 away win against a poor Watford side on the day. That's how it felt. In the end, it was a goalless draw, which does them no favours, really. And I think Argyle, replay this to me in a few weeks' time. Yeah, I think they're looking at needing snookers now.
Mate, totally agree. And we love Plymouth at home. Their 4 remaining home games, Sam: Norwich, Sheffield United, Coventry, Leeds. Yeah. So it's not even like there's hope there at home.
Yeah, and this took me a bit by surprise. Sorry. 2 home wins since the 5th of November.
That took me by surprise when you just said that as well, mate. I thought it would have been better than that. Yeah. Brilliant stuff. Get your views in. We'd love to hear from fans of Plymouth, Luton, Derby, Cardiff, Hull, Oxford, Stoke, Pompey. Do we need to hear from fans of Swansea and QPR? Sam thinks we might do, but I don't. So we'll see how that all pans out. But it was like this last year, wasn't it? And all Constantined it up at the end there. If you want to hear about wins for Norwich and Middlesbrough and Sunderland, I spoke about them on the hot takes, and we'll do a little bit more in the watch along. It's Middlesbrough and Blackburn on Friday. We'll focus a bit in on the playoffs. Sam, are you ready for the quiz to round this out with our good friend Fev?
Yeah, I'm ready, mate.
You want to ask the question first, or do you want me to ask you the question?
They look a bit tricky, mate, so I'll ask you first so I can get my head around what on earth we're talking about.
Right, I'm going to put the league table on my iPad there. We just prove to the watching audience that I'm not cheating. There is FootMob and FootMob alone. Okay. Right, here we go, Sam.
Okay, which 4 teams have the smallest points difference home versus away? So we're looking for the smallest points difference home versus away. For example, Preston have plus 15. They have 31 at home.
So is that the biggest?
16 away.
And we've said a lot, Sam, this year that teams have skewed much better at home.
So you're looking for the teams with the smallest points difference. You're looking for the teams that are pretty...
Well, I'll go Sheffield United, because we already said earlier in the show that they've got 40 at home, which means by default they must have 43 away.
They're not there.
Oh, so it's fewer than 3 points. Okay. How about... No, Sunderland were unbeaten at home, so they're probably better at home than away. Sheffield Wednesday, we know, are better away than at home. Bristol City are better at home than away. Middlesbrough
aren't there, mate. No. So have I read the question correctly? Because have I just missed that last little line of yours?
What about What about Coventry?
Coventry, not there.
Oh, mate, I'm striking out here.
So let me give you. So the first team listed are 22 points at home, 30 away.
Well, I can just see who's got 52 points now, Sam, although there are 3 of those. So it's not Sheffield Wednesday, Norwich, it's Blackburn.
Sheffield Wednesday.
Oh, for God's sake.
Okay, let's put you out of your misery.
Put me out, mate. So I've got 0.
Sheffield Wednesday, -8.
I thought Sheffield Wednesday would be really, there'd be a big difference.
There's 8 difference between Sheffield Wednesday.
So I'm sorry, Sheffield. I don't get this. Sheffield United have got 40 and 43, surely, haven't they? Which is less, which is fewer than Sheffield Wednesday. Anyway, sorry, carry on, mate.
This is why we should read the questions before we do the.
But then you know what the opponent's question.
Okay, maybe I've misconstrued the question. The question was, which 4 teams have the smallest points difference, home versus away? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So
Sheffield Wednesday, -8. They got 22 at home, 30 away. Hull City, -3. They got 19 at home, 22 away. Burnley, +3. 42 at home, 39 away. Millwall, +5. 28 at home, 23 away.
I'm just confused. What has he got Sheffield United down as? That's the only thing I'm querying here, because I've got that down as a 5-point differential, which would be. So we do a stewards on that one, because I think he might have missed Sheffield United out there.
Maybe. Okay, stewards. I'm happy to give you 1 and just move on before my head explodes.
And the audience have all checked out 5 minutes ago, mate. So don't worry about that. Which 4 teams? Oh, no. You're right, Sam. I get it now. It's home versus away. Yeah. Okay. Rather than away versus. Okay. So my question for Sam: which 4 teams have the biggest points difference, home versus away? So yours would have been away versus home. So basically, who scores way more points at home than away from home? So I didn't truly understand the question, but I'll let you crack on. So who's really good at home and rubbish away?
Yeah. Sorry if I read the question incorrectly.
It would have been me not listening. Don't worry.
Watford, straight in.
Yep, correct. So you've already won.
Pompey.
Yep, you're smashing home the advantage here.
Derby.
No.
Hell of a shout, bottom 2.
You're not far off with that, though. That's a good idea.
Oh, was it? Yeah. What are
There's
they
a
like?
curveball in there.
I think they're quite good. Oh, there's a curveball in there.
There is.
Plymouth.
No, Oxford was the curveball. And Leeds were in there as well, because Leeds have obviously got a superb.
Plymouth haven't got enough points to be in the reckoning. Come on, Sam.
No, exactly. Right, there you go, guys. Sorry, I completely didn't listen to the question there, and it's not on our wonderful friend Fev, who you can follow at Fev's Football over on Twitter, who provides our questions. Sam, I think that puts you back in front in the cumulative. And speaking of me and Sam going head to head, we're going to do that right now as we record the championship predictions for round 40. They'll be out tomorrow. We hope you have enjoyed the latest episode of the Championship Checking podcast. Sam and I are both off to just regain the contents of our heads after that tricky quiz question. See you next time.